Hello, everybody. My name is Rhonee. I work with Maggie and Lauren to bring you fun, educational, and hopefully helpful crochet tutorials. Today, I just want to take a couple minutes and talk about yarn storage. There's been some debates on store it this way, store it that way, the way the yarn is made, all different things. So I'm hopefully going to debunk a couple of the theories behind it. So yarn in general, whether it's acrylic or whether it's cotton or wool or yarn, whatever brand of yarn you have, when it's being woven, when it's being made, this yarn can hold almost up to 30% of moisture. Without you touching the yarn, you would never know that there's moisture in here, but there is. And yarn needs to breathe. And there's such a thing as a yarn beetle, and there's so much to understand. I have a huge supply of yarn, and some of the do's and don'ts with yarn. I know a lot of people store their yarn in plastic tight containers, and there's a big controversy over it. One of the things is if you're storing it in an airtight container, the first thing first, you have to keep it out of direct sunlight. You also don't want to store your yarn in trash bags. You don't want to store it in your basement. You need to keep it how you like to keep your house temperature wise. The yarn should be kept at that too. I personally do not like storing my yarn in plastic tubs containers because the mildew can build up really fast, and once there's mildew in your skein of yarn, it's no good. You absolutely cannot get it out. Now they sell hanging shoe racks. You can put your yarn in them because they're not airtight. Your yarn will still be able to breathe in them. Keeping them out of direct sunlight is really important now. But yarn, you can see people giving away yarn at yard sales, at secondhand stores, and you can find yarn almost anywhere. The problem is yarn is expensive. And if it's not stored properly, it's going to get a funky smell to it, and then it could start rotting. And if you make a big project with it, the project can fall apart, and you don't really want that happening. But I do want you to understand that yarn storage is a very real part of being in this craft. And I keep mine in it's called my craft room, but it's the same temperature as my entire house. And I keep my yarn on. I have a huge wire rack that I keep my yarn in. That way I figure it gets circulation through the top, through the bottom, through the sides, through the front, and through the back. And especially when I'm commissioned to do a project for somebody, when I buy their yarn, they reimburse me right away for their yarn. And the last thing I want to do is keep it in a trash bag or the plastic bag that the yarn came in. That being said, I make sure it is put out that way it's able to breathe. So just a few tips. If you are starting to collect large amounts of yarn, you don't want it in direct sunlight, and you don't want it in containers where they're sealed with sunlight hitting them. I do know a lot of people that store their yarn in sealed containers, but it's never in sunlight, and most of those people don't have trouble. The way I do it, I've never had one skein of yarn go bad. Now understand, my yarn is never on the floor. It's never in baskets for months on end. It's never in plastic bags for months on end. When I buy it, I try to keep it away. Am I the neatest person with it? Absolutely not. But I work very hard at keeping my yarn in a good shape to be able to do it. Now, the other last thing is yarn beetles. If you keep your projects on the ground, on your floor, they're very susceptible to them and moths and chewing holes through them. And you don't want to store your project with mothballs. That smell is just about darn near impossible to get that smell out of a crocheted project. But I'm going to be doing these little videos every now and then to give you a little more tidbits on yarn and the process of it. But I did want you to understand that when you buy your yarn, when it's weaved, it is holding up to 30% of moisture. And I don't think a lot of people knew that. And that's really important to know for when you're buying yarn and storing yarn. Well, thank you for taking a couple minutes to listen to this video, everybody. Hope it wasn't too boring. My name is Rhonee. I work with Maggie and Lauren to bring you wonderful crochet tutorials and tips and tricks. And if you like our videos, would you please be so kind to hit that like and subscribe button at the bottom? And please come join us on Facebook under Whip and Chain for Work in Progress. Until next time, bye everybody.